Hey, thanks for stopping by and clicking on this video. I record under the artist name of audiotech Audio. I have releases on Traxrecords of Chicago. If you'd like to know more about me and why I'm creating these videos, you can check out my YouTube channel and watch this video here, or you can visit my website at www.auditechaudio.com. So today we're going to have a look at phase and how that can have an impact on your recordings. So let's dive straight in. So here we are in Logic once again, and what I have here is a copy of Serum setup. And what we're going to look at is the relationship between the two oscillators here and here and how they are impacted by phase. And then we're just going to have a little look at some audio channels as well to see how that has an impact on our recordings and how we can maybe use that to our advantage to improve our mixes. So first of all, I have an oscillator A set up on Serum here. It's a sine wave, okay? And if we look at the control here, this is our phase control. We can see that the phase is set to 0. So what this means is that when I start the synthesizer with a MIDI note, if I move this line to the beginning, this is where our oscillator is going to start from. Okay, it's going to play all of this sine wave starting here every time the note is triggered. So what we'll do is we'll press play here. I have a MIDI channel already set up with a synthesizer. And we can see then what happens when we press play here. And what I want you to do is pay particular attention to the loudness meter over here and the level that you're seeing on this when we are pressing play on the synthesizer here. So you'll notice that we have a loudness reading here of around minus 15.4 or 15.3 here, okay? So what I'm going to do now is just stop that a moment. And we're going to turn on this oscillator B as well. So we're going to have both this oscillator and this oscillator playing at the same time. Now what's important to notice here is that this oscillator as well has a phase of 0, which means that it's also starting at this point here as well. So when we trigger this synthesizer with MIDI, our MIDI note is going to start this oscillator here and this oscillator here, okay, at the same time. So both oscillators will play at exactly the same time. So let's have a look at what happens here on the loudness meter when we do that. So now we can see that our loudness meter is reading minus 9.3, whereas before it was reading minus 15. So let's just turn that off there. Okay, so as that settles, and then I turn it back on, we can see that we have an increase of around 6 dB of loudness, okay? So when we have two signals that are in phase, we then have an increase in amplitude of around 6 dB. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start altering the phase of one of the oscillators and see then what impact that has on our sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this phase position here to the center. So now we have this one where the phase is starting at this point of this oscillator. But this time it's starting here. So that means that when we trigger the synth, this oscillator is going to start from here and play this portion of the waveform first. This oscillator is going to start from here and play this portion of the waveform first. Now, if we notice here, we have a center line here, and this would be then opposite to this, okay? Because this is under the line and this is above the line. So let's have a look at what happens now when we press play. So now we can see that we have a significant decrease in volume here, because what's happening is this oscillator is opposite to this oscillator in phase. So it's effectively cancelling each other out. So now we don't have any sound or very little sound at all, okay? So if I move the phase position now of this oscillator back, we can see we're starting to get an increase in amplitude or loudness. And we're now back to our original level here with both oscillators playing. So why is that important, you might wonder? Well, as you start mixing your tracks, if we have tracks that are maybe misaligned and not in phase, then that can cause some tracks then to be, let's say, quieter or have an effect on our productions. So for example here, if this was going to be maybe a kick drum and this was going to be a bass line, then we would want those parts of the frequency spectrum in our track not to be, let's say, conflicting with each other and cancel each other out, because we want those sort of signals or that part of the frequency range to be hitting hard and loud. Okay, so let's just zoom in here very quickly and have a look at what's happening with our waveforms here. So as we look at our waveforms, if I'm going to put my playhead here, okay, we can see that this track and this track, both of our waveforms are perfectly aligned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute this one, and then I'll do the same and listen to this one as well. So let's press play now. So at this moment we only have this channel playing. And if I turn on this one as well, keep an eye again on the loudness meter. We have again a significant increase in volume between our two audio channels here. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to move one of these audio files just slightly along so that our audio files are just slightly misaligned, which means then that this track would be out of phase with this track, for example. So if I just select this audio here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to nudge it across slightly. As I do that, we can see now that our audio file now is no longer in line with the one above. So let's have a look at how that affects our audio signal now. Okay, so again, we'll check on the loudness here. Just going to play this track to start. And then I'm going to unmute this track and see what difference it makes to our audio over here, okay? So now we can see that we have an increase in loudness, but it's not reaching the level that we had before, which was minus 9.3 or minus 9.4. So if I then move this audio back, so again, by realigning this audio track with this one, we have then an increase in amplitude overall in our mix. So what this means is that if we have two audio channels which are not phase aligned, that can then cause problems in terms of loudness of our overall mix. Now, obviously, it's going to be hard to say achieve this every single time, because here we have two audio signals which are identical. In audio recording, when you're mixing lots of different synthesizers, vocals, percussion instruments, they don't always have identical audio waveforms. They have more complex waveforms, which means that you're not always going to be able to align audio files perfectly like we see here. You're not always going to achieve a perfect phase alignment for these audio tracks here, so that they then give you the maximum loudness, because they will be different waveforms. What you can do is, if you're looking at things like your kick and your bass, you might want to start here. And if you're looking at the very first measure and you can see that maybe one of your audio files is misaligned, this would then cause issues in terms of loudness. So if they're not perfectly aligned, then you might get phase cancellation. And if that's happening with your kick and your bass, then that's going to obviously cause problems then in terms of your overall mix. Your kick drum and your bass are not going to sound maybe as loud and punchy as you like. So if you do find that you're having issues like that, try and maybe just nudge in one of your audio files along the timeline slightly, and then that might be a way then of being able to achieve a louder kick and bass. Or other instruments, maybe you have other instruments that are competing with each other and cancelling each other out because they have a similar frequency range. You might be able to nudge them along slightly just to then give a little bit more clarity in your mix. So just wanted to go over that with you and explain about phase and show why phase alignment is quite important. You can get plugins that can align phase. iZotope have a plugin in Neutron 5, which is called Phase. And what you can do with this is play your audio file, and then if you press learn, this will then listen to your audio, and then it will basically automatically adjust the phase, position, and try and realign the tracks. So you might see that you have percentage here where it's offering some correction to your audio in order to then realign the phase of the different audio channels to make it more, let's say, phase coherent, so that you then don't lose as much power and energy in your mix. So there are particular plugins you can get like that might help as well. But one of the things, again, to focus on is initially just checking the phase alignment of your audio files, and then hopefully then that will help you then achieve louder and more punchier mixes. So thanks for watching this video, and if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.